Helen, welcome to the World Today. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Here's what's coming up within the hour. European leaders are meeting in Brussels to discuss future support for Ukraine. Even the Ukrainian president is attending despite a Russian attack on his hometown. And more responses on the trade war started by the United States. Officials in China and Mexico talking tough and seeking new allies. Plus, a devastating fire erupts at a legal storage facility in Lima, Peru. The World Today starts now. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is joining other European leaders in Brussels today for a summit to discuss future support for Ukraine. Zelensky arrived hours after a Russian missile hit a hotel in his hometown, Kryvyi Rih, where Western charity workers were staying. Zelensky says among the workers were those of UK and US citizenship. One survivor of the attack says he thinks the attack was deliberate. Some occupants of the hotel say they got a warning on their phones and barely stood up when the missile hit the top of the building. Meanwhile, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer says he'll be playing a leading part in the security of Ukraine. He was speaking to reporters earlier where he said what matters most is lasting peace that brings an end to the war and ensures Ukraine is able to make it on its own. Well, the Ukrainian president says he's thankful and grateful for European support in the conflict with Russia. He was addressing a press conference in Brussels ahead of today's summit in the company of the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and President of the European Council Antonio Costa. This meeting is taking place days after the US announced it was pausing military aid to Ukraine. The summit also comes after Ms. von der Leyen announced an €800 billion rearm plan, calling it an era of rearmament.
It's a very important moment to build on European security. As you remember, 1 month ago we have a very important brainstorming, but now we are here today to take decisions and to deliver. First of all, I would like to thank the European Commission to come so soon with concrete proposals that give the opportunity for us to take concrete decisions for achieve a comprehensive, just and lasting peace. And dear Volodymyr, we are with you since day one. We'll continue with you now, and we will continue in the future, in the eventual peace negotiations, when we decided that is coming the right moment to negotiate, and most important, in the future as a member state of the European Union. Then, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I present today to the leaders the Rearm Europe plan. The Rearm Europe plan provides up to €800 billion for defense investment. It gives the member states fiscal space to invest in defense. It gives the member states possibility to invest in the Ukrainian defense industry or to procure military capabilities that go right away to Ukraine. So it is to the benefit of rearming Europe, rearming the European Union, but also arming Ukraine in its existential fight for its sovereignty and territorial integrity. So today, Volodymyr, thank you for coming. It's a very important moment to show that we stand by Ukraine for as long as it takes.
Thank you very much, dear Antonio, dear Ursula, and I want to thank all our European leaders, first of all, and for such signal, strong support, discuss on strong support from the very beginning of the war, and what's been during all this period, and last week you stay with us, and of course from all the Ukrainians, from all our nations, big appreciation. We are very thankful that we are not alone, and these are not just words, we feel it. It's very important. You made a strong signal to Ukrainian people, to Ukrainian warriors, to civilians, to all our families, and it's great that we are not alone. We feel it and we know it. Thank you.
While Europe seeks a solution to peace in Ukraine, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has cautioned leaders against giving up on the U.S. The comment comes after French President Emmanuel Macron hinted at expanding his country's nuclear umbrella to cover Europe. Macron was making the comment in an address on Wednesday. He said it would be madness to ignore the threat Russia has become for Europe and said he is open to discussing the extension of France's nuclear deterrence to Paris's allies on the continent. France's deterrent was developed by then-President Charles de Gaulle in the early 1960s, designed to be fully independent from the United States, which was in nuclear competition with the Soviet Union at the time. Back to the German Chancellor now. He says, "What do you think of the idea of a nuclear umbrella from France to Europe? We're allied with each other in NATO. There are very specific rules for this. And what is particularly important is what we have in terms of nuclear sharing, which is organized in Germany. And I believe that this should not be abandoned. It is the common view of all central parties in Germany." Moscow has responded to President Macron's remarks as extremely confrontational. Meanwhile, Ukraine's ambassador to the U.S., Valery Zaluzhny, says the U.S. is destroying the established world order. Criticizing the new Trump administration's way of handling foreign policy, Zaluzhny said the White House had questioned the unity of the whole Western world. His comments come amid an apparent cooling of tensions between Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump after public falling out between the two in the Oval Office on Friday. Kyiv has made attempts to mend relations with Washington in recent days after the U.S. paused its military aid to Ukraine and intelligence sharing in a bid to bring Zelensky to the negotiating table. But Mr. Zaluzhny's remarks at the conference in Chatham House in London today suggests that there remains discontent over the U.S.'s actions. He told an audience, "We see that this is not just the axis of evil and Russia trying to revise the world order, but the U.S. is finally destroying this order." The Ukrainian envoy added that talks between the U.S. and Russia, the latter of which was headed by a war criminal in President Vladimir Putin, showed the White House was making steps towards the Kremlin, trying to meet them halfway. As for the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, Europe is in an arms race with Russia that, in his words, we must win. He's also attending the Security Summit in Brussels. The summit comes after European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced that €800 billion rearm Europe plan, calling it an era of rearmament, and also telling reporters that the bloc faces a clear and present danger and a watershed moment. In the meantime, the Russian Emergencies Ministry's bomb squad has been seen conducting controlled explosions in the Donetsk People's Republic after the department reported it had found over 240 Ukrainian ordnances. This video, released by the Russian government, shows EMECOM personnel transporting weaponry and ammunition and conducting controlled detonations. One officer claimed during the inspections, "We find NATO ammunition," which the staff of the Russian Emergencies Ministry of Emergency Situation in the Donetsk People's Republic seize and destroy. EMECOM states that 247 explosive items in total have been seized, including artillery shells and mortar shells of various caliber, ammunition for handheld anti-tank grenade launchers, and hand grenades, according to a statement by the group. The DPR is one of 4 regions, also including the Luhansk People's Republic, Zaporizhia and Kherson, that President Vladimir Putin agreed to admit to the Russian Federation, signed in accession documents in September of 2022. Avoiding a diplomatic row with the United States, New Zealand has fired its most senior envoy to the United Kingdom over remarks that questioned U.S. President Donald Trump's grasp of history. At an event in London on Tuesday, High Commissioner Phil Goff compared efforts to end the war between Russia and Ukraine to the 1938 Munich Agreement, which allowed Adolf Hitler to annex part of Czechoslovakia. Mr. Goff recalled how Sir Winston Churchill, then UK Prime Minister, had criticized the agreement, then said of the US leader, "President Trump has restored the bust of Churchill to the Oval Office, but do you think he really understands history?" New Zealand's Foreign Minister Winston Peters says his comments were deeply disappointing and made his position untenable. The comments come after Trump paused military aid to Ukraine following a heated exchange with President Volodymyr Zelensky in the Oval Office on Friday. He contrasted Trump and Churchill, who, while estranged from the British government, spoke against the Munich Agreement as he saw it as a surrender to Nazi Germany's threats. Mr. Goff quoted how Churchill had rebuked then UK Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain. "You had the choice between war and dishonor. You chose dishonor, yet you will have war." Peters said Mr. Goff's views did not represent those of the New Zealand government. Let's segue into the United States now, as Vice President J.D. Vance was seen at the U.S.-Mexico border on Wednesday, emphasizing the administration's commitment to tackling illegal crossings and border security. Accompanied by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, Vance toured key border areas, including Eagle Pass, Texas, where they conducted aerial surveillance and engaged with local and national officials. During his remarks, Vance credited the administration's enforcement of immigration laws more rigorously than former President Joe Biden. The administration has increasingly framed border enforcement as a military and intelligence concern, with Vance stating that involving Gabbard and Hegseth signaled a more comprehensive approach to the issue. And we'll stay a bit longer in the United States as President Donald Trump issues what he's called a last warning to Hamas to release the hostages being held in Gaza. Trump said in a lengthy post on his Truth Social platform, "I'm sending Israel everything it needs to finish the job. Not a single Hamas member will be safe if you don't do as I say." Hamas accused the U.S. president of encouraging Israel to break the ceasefire deal currently in effect between the two sides. Trump's statement came just hours after the White House confirmed it was holding direct talks with Hamas over the remaining hostages. Washington has until now avoided direct engagement with the group, and there is a long-standing U.S. policy against having direct contact with entities it lists as terrorist organizations. In a social media post, Trump said there would be hell to pay if the hostages were not released, while not specifying the nature of the support that he was sending to Israel. In another development, U.S. President Donald Trump says he will temporarily spare car makers from a new 25% import tax imposed on Canada and Mexico just a day after the tariffs came into effect. The announcement by the White House came after, even as Trump continued to blast Canada for not doing enough to stop drugs from entering the U.S. Writing again on Truth Social, Trump said, "Nothing has convinced me that it has stopped." He posted this after a phone call with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau about the economic disruptions caused by new trade tariffs. News of the relief helped to boost U.S. shares, which closed higher after 2 days of declines that had wiped out gains the S&P 500 had seen since the presidential election in November. The tariff exemption is for cars made in North America that comply with the continent's existing free trade agreement. That deal, which was negotiated by Trump during his first term, sets out rules for how much of a car must be made in each country to qualify for duty-free treatment. But days after its assertion to fight trade or any other type of war with the U.S., China today toned down its stand, saying no such wars should be fought because they cannot be won. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Li Jiang told the media, responding to U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth's remark that his country does not seek war with China, but will rebuild the military and prepare for war. He says the U.S. must no longer seek to contain or go after China in the name of strategic competition. In contrast, on Tuesday, Mr. Leonard said, "Let me reiterate that intimidation does not scare us, bullying does not work on us, Pressuring, coercion, or threats are not the right way of dealing with China. Anyone using maximum pressure on China is picking the wrong guy and miscalculating. Meanwhile, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, during the press conference in Mexico City yesterday, announced the intention to seek dialogue with the governments of Canada, Chile, and other countries on international trade following the announcement of the 25% tariffs by her U.S. counterpart Donald Trump. She asserted if it is necessary to seek other trade partners, we will do so. Everything to protect Mexico and Mexicans within the framework of our sovereignty and dignity. Sheinbaum highlighted the strength of the Mexican people in facing economic and political challenges. The president also assured that despite the uncertainty caused by the new tariffs, the national economy remains strong. Following statements by U.S. Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick about possible tariff exemptions, Sheinbaum emphasized that the first country to suffer the impact would be the United States itself. She responded by saying the short-term effects of the tariffs will be on the U.S. We have our plan regardless of the decision. While staying in the United States, we can bring you more on the Vice President J.D. Vance's visit to the U.S.-Mexico border, where he emphasized the administration's commitment to tackling illegal crossings and border security. In his remarks, Vance credited the administration's enforcement of immigration laws more rigorously than former President Joe Biden. This administration has increasingly framed border enforcement as a military and intelligence concern, with Vance stating that involving Gabbard and Hegseth, also officials of the Trump administration, signaled a more comprehensive approach to the issue.
Some bad news and some good news. And the bad news is that because of what Joe Biden did at the southern border for 4 years, we had record increases in migrant crime, in fentanyl deaths, and in just floods and floods of people who shouldn't be in our country who came into the United States of America. We also have a number of ways in which the cartels became more advanced, better warfighters, because Joe Biden opened up the American southern border and allowed the cartels to turn it into their playground. I wanted to bring Secretary Hegseth and Director Gabbard at DNI down here because, one, I obviously enjoy their company, and it's good to have them down here with me looking around today. But unfortunately, we know that because of what's happened, the border crisis has become a matter of national intelligence, and it's also become something that requires the Department of Defense to engage with.
Border security is national security. And from the Defense Department, we've watched for a couple of decades other people's borders being secured while ours was open for an invasion of drugs and of violence and of chaos for American communities. That stops under President Trump.
As Director of National Intelligence, there are a number of areas where we are focused. The President talked about in his speech, over 21 million people have come across our borders illegally under Joe Biden's administration. There are many of them that we don't know who they are. They have not been vetted. We don't know where they are.
The Wikipedia Foundation is launching the Knowledge is Human, Knowledge is Her campaign to celebrate contributors working to close gender gaps on Wikipedia. The campaign highlights the efforts of volunteers, including those from Africa, who are helping to increase content about women on the platform. These volunteers are crucial in making sure that Wikipedia, the world's largest encyclopedia, represents a more balanced and inclusive view of history. The campaign also features contributions from editors who organize workshops, events, and initiatives to encourage more people, especially women, to contribute to Wikipedia. Notable contributors from Africa include Carol Mora from Kenya, Goodness Ignatius from Nigeria, and Agbenoma Abigail from Benin. Though through their work, they are ensuring that Wikipedia better reflects the richness of diverse cultures and perspectives. Our Wikimedia contributor Goodness Ignatius joins me now. She's in Maiduguri in Borno State. Goodness, great to have you on the program today.
Good to have you too. Thank you. I'm in Oka, Anambra, actually.
Oh, great. We did receive word you were in Maiduguri. I was going to ask you what the weather is like up there because, well, the weather in Lagos has been pretty hot over the past few weeks, I think, coming from last year. But thanks for making time to be on the show today. Tell us about your work with Wikipedia and this special project that Wikimedia is doing by women, for women, and for everyone else to enjoy.
Thank you for that question. Okay, my work on Wikipedia is to bridge gender gap, to improve gender equity, and to create articles, to also add reliable sources, to edit, to make the information complete for readers from different parts of the world. Now, we have different and diverse people from different parts of the world contributing to Wikipedia, and diverse people from different parts of the world are also readers and use the information on Wikipedia for different purposes. There are different campaigns, events, projects, and groups that are established or whose missions are to bridge the gender gap or ensure that gender equity is improved. Such groups are the She Said, the Wiki Women, the Wikipedia in Red, or Women in Red. Then there are events like Wiki Women Summits. All these things are brought together so that this issue of gender equity is tackled. Thank you.
Yeah, and it is interesting that this is happening in Women's International History Month. International Women's History Month, yes. Now that I say it, it does sound more real. Women's Day is only on Saturday. So I know that it is a bit challenging. I don't know if it is for you, compiling profiles of women for Wikimedia than it is for men. And I'm asking this question because I find that women, well, not you because you're on my program, are not very forthcoming with either putting information out there or being seen out there because they don't want to be accused of being arrogant or unsubmissive. So how challenging has it been for you doing this work?
Okay, you know, Wikipedia is edited by women, and the challenge we face is that sometimes there are network challenges. Women won't want to come forward to edit or identify themselves or make contributions or events or campaigns. But with all these challenges, we also create awareness. We encourage women to come forth, to join the campaigns, to join events, to join all the programs that Wikimedia Foundation has put in place. Then this enables us to bridge gender gap. Like we have women editors, though there are more men editors, but there are women editors. Like for me, I edit basically, or I make contributions basically, or for women, articles about Igbo culture, or articles about Nigeria. So these subjects are what I cover on the English Wikipedia and other language Wikipedias, which I contribute to. Thank you.
When you talk about Igbo culture, I'm thinking, you know, with other cultures as well in Nigeria. I don't know if you've noticed the conversations on social media are about gender roles, what the man should be doing, what the woman should be doing. So when you're writing articles like that, what sort of articles are you looking for to write about? Do you look at societal issues, or do you just, you know, explore the culture's norms and customs of a particular tribe in the country, and then, you know, you run with that?
Okay, articles I write about are articles that are notable and will be reliable and will be important for readers. So we use reliable sources to make this information have concrete evidences or have concrete proof. So this information about women on Wikipedia or the Igbo culture, for instance, I've written about Omugo, and the Wikimedia Foundation has what is known as the Wikipedia Library, where different collections of information like the journals, ebooks are brought together by different bodies to be accessible to users or editors of Wikipedia. So this Wikipedia library has free sources of information where editors access them and use those sources of information or use the information to cite or to reference whatever facts or whatever information they are putting on Wikipedia, such as some of these institutions or bodies are Oxford University Press, the Pelego, Gistor, and others.
How do we get access to, the finished product? Or is this project still ongoing?
The finished product of what? Is it an article or
no,
the women
of the campaign itself, the Knowledge is Human, Knowledge is Her campaign?
Okay, it's an ongoing campaign for the Women's Day, and Women's Day, the International Women's Day, is on the March 8th, so it's still ongoing, and more information can be gotten from the Wikimedia Foundation site. That's www.wikimediafoundation.org.
Thank you so much, Goodness. I appreciate your being here on The World Today. In the meantime, in other stories, back here in Nigeria, the country has begun the 2025 Stakeholders Consultation Voluntary National Review on Sustainable Development Goals with the Southwest Zone. Speaking at the event in Ikeja, Lagos, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, Princess Adejoke Orelope Adefulire, says the consultation is to review Nigeria's SDGs progress report of 2024 through the lens of institutional frameworks, progress on the 17 SDGs, lessons learned, implementation, challenges, and key recommendations. Adefulire, who was represented by the technical advisor of the Office of the SDG, Dr. Bala Yunusa, said the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals report of 2024 identified a lack of progress towards the SDGs and that only 17% of the SDGs targets are on track, stressing the need to recommit towards taking transformative actions to fast-track the achievement of the goals.
The Lagos State Office of Sustainable Development Goals, in conjunction with the Office of a Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, holds the Southwest Regional Stakeholders Consultative Training on Nigeria's 2025 Voluntary National Review, which focuses on key issues of poverty and an inclusive economy for all Nigerians.
And we have the principles and how the SDGs targets and indicators.
The meeting and training exercise is also to assess the progress and challenges in achieving the SDGs. The Lagos State Special Advisor on Sustainable Development Goals, Dr. Oreoluwa Fini, says the gathering is to advance collective actions towards improving the country's ranking among the best performers on the SDG global trajectory.
The fact that Lagos remains a beacon of subnational leadership in SDG localization, encouraging strategic partnerships and innovative solutions is a pride for us here. As we initiate this significant consultation, I call on all the governments here present, the private sector, civil societies, the academia, and development partners here present to share their perspectives, experiences, insights, and suggestions on how we can best shape Nigeria's 2025 VNR.
Information from the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs reveals that only 17% of the SDG targets are on track and must be improved upon.
Nigeria has presented 2 voluntary national reviews
in 2017 and 2020 respectively. This year, Nigeria will present its third voluntary national review along with 38 other countries. The United Nations Sustainable Development Report 2024 posits that lack of progress towards the SDGs is universal, but developing countries and the world poorest are bearing the brunt the most. And according to that report, only 17% of the SDG targets are on track. Nearly half are showing minimal or moderate progress, and progress on over one-third has either stalled or regressed.
Also, representatives from Ogun State, as well as the director of the Center for Actualization of SDGs from the Lagos State University, says it is important to attain the full implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals.
There are 6 states here. We in Ogun State are doing a lot in terms of mapping and tagging SDGs to the relevant NDAs. So in order to really measure the impact of SDGs, we need to be able to capture and relate it to the different engagement of all ministries, departments, and agencies of government.
And for me to leave no one behind, set up the LASU SDG Club, which today has over 3,500 students in all the campuses. And recently we have set up LASU sustainability policy, which will guide, the implementation of SDG.
Following this flag-off in Lagos, series of consultations will also take place in Uyo for South-South, Enugu for Southeast, Gombe for Northeast, Kaduna for Northwest, and Abuja for North Central, and will be concluded with a national validation in the FCT.
We're returning to the United States, where illegal immigration still remains a headache for the Trump administration, promising to address this issue. The recent executive orders are causing deportations of thousands of people per day. Our Washington correspondent Maria Bird held a chat with immigration attorney Omojesu to discuss the imminent impacts of the new immigration orders.
Good afternoon, Attorney Ajoke Omojesu. We thank you so much for joining us. We thank you, as we know this is a very busy time for immigration attorneys and for the court system. Can you please give us some insight into really what's happening around immigration? All these executive orders, there's a lot happening around immigration. This was a part of the president's campaign message. He stated that he would be coming in to address immigration issues in the United States. What's the framework that his administration is building around immigration?
Thank you so much for having me, Maria, and it's great to be here. Yes, busy time in America. Well, the framework is pretty much what President Trump has been talking about. His main goal, the main goal of this administration, is to curb illegal immigrants into America. The main concern of the administration is that of crimes, really, right? And the administration believes that, especially the southern, border, there's a lot of entry, just people coming in, perpetrators of crimes. You've heard about the drugs and all that. Even just 3 days ago, 3,000 extra were sent out. I mean, it's like 9,000 total now deployed just to be there and to 45 things. And we saw that, there were some arrests made. We've seen many things going on. The administration has even threatened to increase tariffs on Canada and Mexico by 25% if there's an operation. So it appears to be that the focus of this administration is to curb crime. However, you know how it is. When laws go into effect, especially when you're trying to crack down on immigration, the focus, I must say to you, that I have noticed is targeting illegal immigrants, right? And it's just economic. It's all about economics in America, the economy, to rebuild it, to curb crimes, to keep at bay any agents, anyone trying to come in to foster all of this sex trafficking, drug trafficking, and all of that. That's what it is, right? So I would just stay in my lane and speak to immigration and not dive into politics and all that. But yeah, that's the landscape of all of this. The summary of it is we're going to tighten the border. We don't say don't come in. If you're going to come in, we want to know who you are, what you're about, what you're bringing in here. We want your countries to partner with us in terms of releasing information, so that if they're transparent, we just know that you're safe for us coming in. And that's just basically what this is, the focus of all this that you're seeing going on.
You mentioned crime. I mean, we've obviously heard that. Has there been a reduction in crime as a result of the thousands of individuals deported? As you said, that is part of the underpinning of why the mass deportation of illegal immigrants?
Well, Maria, your guess is as good as mine. We're just in March, right? And numbers, statistics. It will take a while to really see, is there an effect, As I'm not an expert on, census in numbers, and that's not my forte, I don't know. But what I know is that numbers, it takes time to come up with stats, You just got into office, a lot has been happening. But in terms of really seeing a drop in crime, your guess is as good as mine. Right now, there are all sorts of things you can read in publications, but nothing by the government that we can speak authoritatively to that, since this started, we've experienced 10% drop, 5% drop, so I can speak to that. But if we have to just speak to human nature, when you see that something is going to have consequences, people kind of shy back. So my guess is that, or my forecast is that, it probably, especially from the southern border coming in, it probably, would deter that and kind of for a minute, I don't know,
Well, we'll have to see, as you said, what comes out of what's been going on. Now, you mentioned the southern border. You mentioned these challenges around immigration and some of the things that have been enforced over the last few weeks. Now, we also know that when you think about immigration, it's something that has varied impacts. We know that the president previously had talked about building a border wall. Tell us how this is impacting communities. We know that you can turn on the news at any time and see mass deportations, families crying, ICE is raiding communities. And we also know the courts are probably very busy with cases, probably backlogged with immigration cases for quite some time. What is this greater impact that we're seeing?
Oof, Maria, you know what happens when life just abruptly interrupts your life, when families are separated without notice, when we don't need to kind of overkill that cow. I think everybody sees on the social media what's happening, right? So bottom line is that at every point in time, United States, there are thousands of documented illegal immigrants, meaning the country knows they're here. Their documents, like maybe they were put in deportation and asked to remove themselves and given the deadline, but they haven't done so. For several reasons, there are thousands of documented. So when you see ICE go out and all, quite contrary to, because a lot of people call and they are so scared. Oh my gosh. And the truth is that the government is chasing after documented. There's so many of them. There's so many, they don't have time to randomly just knock on your door and come. But the effect is that if you happen to be in a place where they're conducting these raids, and for whatever reasons, you also fall in the park, unfortunately. And then when these raids are conducted, those individuals are not given the time to go home and settle things. They have kids, wives or husbands and family and all that. So of course, it's devastating. It really is. The question is that, could there be a milder approach to this, a better approach to all this? It seems so erratic and just massive all at once. Could there be? Well, I really do not know. I really do not know. And what do I think about all this logic, this thing behind, let's just shut the borders, let's secure the borders and all that? This is just a whole bunch of, there's so many sides to this sword, it's like a Swiss Army knife. There's just so many angles that you can view this. But at large, in general, it's affecting, of course, negatively. A lot of countries are just filled with anxiety. People are so scared. People are like, and now, how it is. On the news, you will read a lot of garbage that's not real. but that is instilling fear in people. You know, I mean, people are calling and texting. If I travel to Nigeria, is it true that I will not be allowed to come back in again, even though I'm a citizen? Or what if I go and I'm a green card holder? And you know, all this stuff. But I haven't seen any real valid evidence, and I've not heard anybody calling for help because they traveled out of the country and were trying to come back and they were not allowed in. I just haven't seen that. So you know how when things happen, the fear, everything is magnified and exaggerated. And then so in communities, there's a lot of fear, a lot of unrest, a lot of uncertainty. Some people are paralyzed by fear, especially, of course, those who are here illegally. Yes. You just cannot, like, oh my gosh, if I drive, you know, everything seems like it's coming for them. It's all magnified and there's a lot of fear, even though they have cases pending through the immigration system and all that. And yes, of course, you know, immigration has always been a huge power in immigration courts, and it continues to be. And the fear is just ongoing. But I'll just say to people, just do what's right. Go to work, do your regular stuff. If you know you have no reason to be afraid, then don't worry about it. If your case is pending and you're still in the process, don't buy into this fear of they can just cut it off. We haven't seen that happening now. What we see now is a mass deportation of documented illegal immigrants. You know, and even though we say that, it's not easy. Like I said, their families involved. There's all sorts involved. So, I mean, reality is that the impact on those people, they're not pleasant and they're immediate.
Yes. You know, as we think about, you know, all that's happening, we typically see individuals that are from Central America, from Mexico, from Southern America, or South America. As we know that, you know, Nigerians too, as you just mentioned, can be concerned. But have we really seen an impact on Nigerians as it relates to being able to be here in the U.S.? Have we seen any deportation of Nigerians? And have we really seen this new executive orders and policies have an impact on the Nigerian community?
No, none that I have seen. That's why I keep telling people, don't over panic, you know. And unfortunately, I don't know. What I believe is that any officer of the law doing this would keep people at peace and let them know, hey, you know, just tell them as it is, really. And no, I haven't seen that. So, and until I see that, I continue to tell everyone, just be peaceful. Just go about your own business. And if you know you're right, you're right. And if you're waiting for your case to be heard, just wait. It will be heard. If there seems to be an unusual delay, they are inundated. It's a lot of caseload. You know, it's a lot in there. But of course, you know, I have to say that even back in 2020, Nigeria, you know, was put in that list of those countries, one of those that immigration, you know, to migrate over is a little bit tighter. And the reason that they said is because Nigeria wasn't cooperating much to share information regarding security. And it's like, okay, if you're not going to tell us it's secure to have this person, why should we let them? And that was going on there, not just Nigeria, a few other countries as well. So in essence, in summary, Maria, I don't feel that anything has drastically changed, you know, regarding people that are just going about their business. You're a citizen, you're doing your work, and people call and say, oh, I hear that even if I'm a citizen, I should carry the picture of my passport. I should carry this, I should carry that. Well, if it gives you peace, do so. But like I said, they're going for documented illegal immigrants, right? But so again, the message is, yes, things are changing. Yes, there is massive deportation. Yes, they're trying to crack down on the drug cartels and the sex traffickers and all those things. And yes, I mean, there's so many things that I question about, oh goodness, what are you saying? What are you saying? If I'm a citizen and my spouse is a citizen, our kids cannot be, you know, all these other things that are like, okay, you know, but at large, when it comes to this deportation issue, I do not see any real concern, you know, that our people or anybody needs to be worried about, except, you know, that you're a documented illegal immigrant, then you do have a reason to be concerned.
Yes. Well, Attorney Njoke, we thank you so much for joining us, and we definitely want to have you back again because we know this is not the end to the questions around immigration. So thank you again.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for doing this as well, Maria. I think people need some peace. It's a lot of unknowns and uncertainty out there. But yeah, thank you.
Immigration lawyer Ajoke Omojesu with our correspondent Maria Bird. To other stories now, a smart following stroller produced by Chinese company IWD was demonstrated autonomously following its owner in Zhejiang province on Tuesday. The MT pram follows a mother carrying her baby through different environments, stopping or avoiding obstacles in the process. Drawing from advancements in autonomous driving technology, this innovative stroller leverages AI to detect obstacles and potential hazards while on the move. Mr. Zhu outlines the functions and safety features of the cutting-edge baby carriage. The driving structure must be carefully automatic with a clutch system, meaning it can engage or disengage the power as needed. Safety is ensured using sensors to ensure that the stroller remains under control while the baby is inside, along with an automatic brake to mitigate any potential loss of control. Now, a smartphone app allows parents to track the routes, the distances, and locate lost strollers. Additionally, the stroller features an automatic rocking function to help soothe crying babies to sleep. That's going to be a thing in no time now. Staying in China, though, LGT Cafe in Pu'er in Yunnan province has launched a range of insect-infused coffee beverages with fried worms and grasshoppers. The unique menu has seen customers swarm to the cafe, which has quickly become an internet sensation. Yep. Cafe owner Zhu Ching prepares the bamboo worm Americanos and grasshopper lattes as patrons enjoy the unique drinks and snacks, dipping them in sauces. The cafe owner noted that Yunnan region has produced large quantities of coffee for years and described the drinks as a collision with local cuisine, which traditionally features insect proteins. According to local media reports, on February 18, the LGT Cafe launched a series of insect coffee drinks, including bamboo insect Americano, grasshopper latte, and bumblebee latte. Now, before you say yuck, give it a try. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. See you next time.